coffee and candles, candle chat. Welcome to coffee. Good morning. This is my first Q&A that I've ever done, and it's my first sit-down video that I've ever done where I've been filmed the whole time. So just bear with me today and we will get through this together. Okay, so here's my coffee. Go grab your coffee and we will talk over coffee about candles. I got a lot of questions, and hopefully I'll be able to get through all of them today with as much information as possible and answer all of your questions fully. And if you have any more questions or want me to do another one of these, go ahead and leave some comments in the comment section below and we'll get to that later. Question number one is, what is your personal favorite candle scent? And my personal favorite candle scent is the clementine and honey from World Market, and that's because it just reminds me of Seattle. Like, I can close my eyes and smell it, and it's like being back in Pike's Market, and just like the scent of like the orange, and then like something about it is like misty with like the sweet honey scent, and maybe it's like there's a crumpet shop down there, and there's a lot of scents, there's a lot of smells, and they all smell really good, and just like the scent coming off the ocean and everything, that's just really nice. That, and I love rose scented candles. I recently made a rose scented pillar candle and I love it. It smells just like a votive that I used to get all the time at World Market, and they don't sell it anymore, so I wanted to make sure that I could make one that kind of smelled similar or the same, and I think it really does. Is candle making hard? And I would just have to say, not for me currently. There are a couple things I'm going to be working on this year to kind of change the way that I'm making candles. So far I've never used a wax scale or like a kitchen scale for like measuring the wax to see how much exactly it is, and I know with making a more professional candle line I'm gonna have to do that. There's also a couple other things like using a temperature thermometer, like candy thermometer, for seeing how hot it is before adding fragrance oils and all that stuff that's just a little bit more complicated that I've never done before. So this year it's gonna get more complicated, but right now it's not hard currently. I've been making candles as a hobby for about 4 years now, since 2018, and I've just been doing it so long, and that might be a reason that it doesn't feel hard anymore. Also, if you've never made candles before, I have a video called How to Make Beeswax Candles, and it's totally beginner friendly, so you can go to that after this video if you want to learn how to make them yourself. All right, question number 3. What kind of wax is best and why? So personally, I've only ever used beeswax to make candles. I've only used beeswax, and I love beeswax. Like, a lot of people say that beeswax is really hard to use, and I've never experienced that, but I think part of the reason I've never experienced that is that I've never used a different kind of wax for making candles. So I don't know. But I think this question really just depends on what your values are with your candle business specifically and how you want to make candles, because a lot of people like soy wax, and that's totally fine because soy wax is good and it's another natural wax like beeswax. I'm not sure exactly what the process is of getting it. But beeswax comes from the wax on the top of the honeycomb that can be scraped off, and they're called cappings, I think. I'll link a blog post that's all about beeswax. It's 25 different questions about beeswax, and it answers it a little bit in there. Some things that I like about beeswax is that it never expires, so you can make beeswax candles for emergencies and just keep them in storage, and they're not going to expire or go rancid or anything like that. Like paraffin wax can go rancid after a while, I think, and soy wax goes rancid after a while too. Also, I like that it smells like honey. When you're burning a beeswax candle that doesn't have any fragrance oil added to it, it just has a nice light honey smell that kind of just fills up the house, and it's really nice. There's a little bit of a controversy around this. There's like a lot of back and forth on the internet whether this actually happens or not, but I do believe the beeswax candles do clean the air with negative ions. I know a lot of people are just like, that's not real. I understand why they think that it might not be real, but things like waterfalls and Himalayan salt and negative ions produced from things like beeswax and Himalayan salt and waterfalls in the rainforest and like dirt and that kind of stuff attached to bad positive ions in the air from things like allergens and dust particles and mold spores and like that kind of stuff in your house, and latch onto them and drag them to the floor, and then they just get swept up and you're not breathing them in. I'll link more information about that and you can kind of decide for yourself whether you think it's true or not, but I have noticed that I do not sneeze nearly as much in my house if I'm constantly burning beeswax candles. You might find something different, but for me, I feel like it works. That discussion is also listed in that 25 things about beeswax article that I'll list in the description box below after we're done. Do you make your own candle recipes? Do you make up your own recipes for candle smell types? So yes, I do. So all of my candles are made with essential oils, and they're all different types of combinations that I've come up with myself. Like this one that I'm burning right now is jasmine and orange, and it's just kind of something I wanted to come up with last night when I was experimenting, and it's in a mug, which I think is cute. Yeah, I come up with all of my own candle scents. There was a time when I was working at Sprouts in the vitamin department back in 2018, I think, and like every once in a while I go over to the essential oils section and I just kind of smell the different essential oils and see which ones I liked and which ones I thought would go well together, and sometimes I'd just buy them after work and then go home and make candles and see what I liked. Sometimes I'll just look up like what essential oils go well together, see if I like the results with those. So yeah, I come up with all of my own candle scents. Most of them, I don't use any blends currently, but I'd be interested in looking into that. Okay, so that brings us to the next question, which is, when wanting a scent from a candle, are essential oil blends more or less effective than single oils? And so there are two ways to answer this. The answer is just both ways. Okay, so if you're looking at essential oils and on the bottle, it's percentage blend. So if you're looking at an essential oil bottle and it says percentage blend, that means that the essential oil has been diluted with a carrier oil such as jojoba or coconut oil or almond oil or something like that. Just makes it better to use topically, honestly. That's the only reason that I would dilute an oil with carrier oil, is if I was going to use it topically. So those aren't going to be so good for making candles. I've tried doing that and I accidentally bought frankincense oil that was diluted and I couldn't smell it at all. There wasn't enough of the actual oil in there to smell it. There are some essential oil companies like Now Oils, and most of my oils that I'll use in my candles are from the company Now, or Now Foods. And they have one called Clean the Air, Cheer Up Buttercup, and Good Morning Sunshine, as well as like a lot of others that are just different essential oils that have been mixed together for a certain purpose, like, you know, cleaning the air, or like lifting your mood or something like that. And that'll have like three or four different essential oils, and those would be perfectly fine. I mean, I mix my own oils in my candles and use like 2 or 3 scents sometimes, so there's no reason that those wouldn't work. They work perfectly well, just as well as if you're making like a singular, like just lavender oil candle. I'm gonna pause here for a second and invite you to go hit the like button and hit the bell notification if you want to be notified every time I make a video. Back to the video. What kinds of wicks should I buy? I'm gonna just say it really depends on the candle that you're making. So I've made candles that are just 8-ounce small tin candles, and those work perfectly well with like pretty much whatever wick you want to use. I use hemp wicks with beeswax coating on top, and I find that those work really well as single wick candles. I'm not sure if they work the best for my triple wicked candle that I'm making right now. They burn really hot, and that's good for beeswax because beeswax has a melting point of 144 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's pretty high for a candle. It's one of the candles with the most, like, the highest melting point. So it's good to have a wick that burns a little bit hotter. But I am going to be doing a video where I try out different types of wicks, and I'm going to be trying eco wicks and cotton square wicks, as well as showing how the hemp wicks work. So that'll be interesting. If you're interested in that, I'm going to be doing that soon. What are some of the disadvantages of using beeswax for candle making? Every candle wax has disadvantages. Beeswax isn't really exempt from that, though I think it doesn't have a lot of disadvantages. One, I mean, there's a lot of people that say it's hard to work with and that it can be very finicky and temperamental. I don't know about that. But some of the disadvantages that I do know is that it is expensive. So there are some wax that cost about $1 per pound. And I think soy wax and paraffin wax are like $1 to $2 a pound, whereas beeswax can be anywhere from $7 to $12 a pound, which is way more expensive, and it makes the actual candle prices like way more. You have to charge way more. You're not going to make anything on your candles. You're just going to be making candles for free, basically. With beeswax candles, you do have to charge a lot more, and that might throw off some customers. Like, why is this so expensive? But it's because the wax is expensive. Like, we have to pay for the wax, and then we make the candle. So there's that disadvantage. There's another thing where people say that you can't smell oils in beeswax candles, and I just don't think that's true. Like, there are a lot of oils that I've used where I'm like, oh, I probably should have used more oil. Because I use essential oils, and fragrance oils are a whole different thing, and I don't know much about fragrance oils. But with using essential oils, like with my rose candles, I was like, oh, I probably should have like made that with about 20 more drops of oil. And usually I use 60 to 80 drops of oil per candle, and sometimes I'll do 60 per essential oil I'm using. So if I'm using like orange and lavender, I'll use 60 orange drops and 60 lavender drops. So it seems like a lot of oil, maybe. If you're used to using essential oils, that might seem like a lot. But like with this candle, with the jasmine and orange one, I can smell it. Like, I leave the room and come back and I can smell it in the room, like the whole room. And I've had that same experience with like cinnamon oil. Cinnamon oil is very potent. You don't have to use very much of it to get a good scent in beeswax. I've had a lot of really good reviews on my cinnamon candles. So I wouldn't agree with the typical thought that beeswax candles can't smell like anything. This is my last question, and this is another controversial one, and I'm just gonna say up front, listen to my whole point. Don't cut it off before I'm done talking and assume that you know what I'm gonna say. And then secondly, I'm not interested in fighting about this in the comment section. So if you have a mean comment to leave, just like go leave it somewhere else. Don't leave it on my video. So we're not fighting about this in the comment section. So the question is, are candle fragrances or fragrance candles safe, and what is the safest fragrance oil to use? So technically fragrance oil is safe. It's like FDA regulated or something like that, because I mean, or else you wouldn't be able to buy fragrance oils and fragrance candles. But I am going to keep that at technically, because I would never use a candle with regular fragrance in it anymore. We all have our own opinions. We all have our own values when it comes to candles and candle making, and what might be good for me might not be good for you, and vice versa. And you might like fragrance oils even though I don't, and that's fine, and we can all still be friends. And I am assuming that this question doesn't pertain to essential oils and that you're asking specifically about fragrance oils. So I'm just going to quote something from sourceofnatureclean.com. And I'm going to quote this, and this is just like the gist of why I don't use them anymore. Fragrances are linked to a staggering number of health risks. Across multiple research studies, chemicals used in fragrances are classified as allergens, hormone disruptors, asthma triggers, neurotoxins, and carcinogens. And if you don't know, carcinogens are what causes cancer. And I mean, I have low-grade sports-induced asthma, and I've had hormone problems my whole life, and I'm not interested in breathing something in that disrupts my hormones. I'm just not. So I'm not going to use fragrance oils ever, unless they're organic and they're made from plants. And so I'm going to link an article that's all about fragrance oils versus essential oils. And once again, if you like using fragrance oils, that's okay. And like, that's fine. And if that's what you want to use for your business, that's okay with me. Like, that's fine. I'm just not going to do it for my business, and I'm not going to buy anything that has fragrance oil in it. I will say that there are some natural fragrance oil companies that are great, and like, they use all organic products. They don't have anything that has phthalates. I don't know if that's how you say that, but I'll put more stuff in the description box about this. But they don't use any of the bad stuff that I listed in that. And one of those companies is called Nature's Flavors, and they have a whole bunch of different oils that are completely organic and natural and safe and healthy to use. And they're still considered fragrance oils because it's not just the plant smell. Like, essential oils are just the plant oils, like extracts from plants. And so they have one that's apple spice and baby powder, black raspberry vanilla, and baked bread, and a whole bunch of other ones that are like those more generic, like happy candle scents that you would get at like Bath and Body Works or something like that, or World Market, or just like the really nice cozy scents like that. Like you can get a whole bunch of different kinds from their website, and I'll put a link to their website in the description box too. And I would definitely recommend them if you want something different than just essential oils and you still want to keep your candle company pretty natural. Okay, so that is all for today's Q&A session. I hope that you've learned a lot. I hope that you had fun. I had fun. I'm glad that I was able to do this today. If you have any more questions that you would like to see in another video that I didn't answer today, please be sure to put them in the description box. I do save all of those so that I can use them next time. If you didn't earlier, go ahead and hit the like button to tell YouTube that my video was cool, and subscribe if you want to keep seeing stuff from me. Thank you for being here today.